afternoon, everyone. How are you? Uh, it's amazing to relate to something after such a long time. I've been back in Delhi since COVID 2020. Due to I had a spine injury, and it was nothing affected by COVID. It was just the injury that I couldn't work because, and I took up writing, feature writing, and I came to Delhi and I started freelance writing a bit, and I wrote feature film and web shows. All of them are on pitching stage at the moment. But since I write mostly for festivals, pulling up commercial and I'm writing in English naturally. So pulling up the kind of quality that I write in English to have the same quality in Hindi is a little different. It's a little difficult at times. So because of that, I've faced a lot of setback in the industry because breakthroughs and proper mindful values have been always a tough call in the name of who are you and what kind of concept are you handling. This is too festival like, or this is too much heavy budgeted, and you are too young to written it, then you have to direct and stuff like that. So to all of the doubts in my brain, or even the name of concepts or the entire screenplays, the structures have totally genuinely been about if I can write a particular scene, if I can write a particular shot, also if I can also explain the kind of creators and the kind of diversity in shot taking that we go forward with, and also about the kind of distributors that can generate to the story and the artist without the risk of losing the revenues or losing the right audience in the festivals. If I was to explain like that, then I have improved my concepts as such. They're very precious, and most of them are action drama, and most of them are around national securities and scientific experiments and scientific breakthroughs and futuristic economic structures all across the globe. So so that the risk of not being able to not being able to relate to the idea in the name of festival, in the name of abstractionism, if I was to be also explaining the modern psychological principles, and all of that deep and embeds very well, blends very seamlessly with the entire work that I do. And I do keep in the fact that I am not just catering the global audience, I'm also catering the Indian audience. So if I write a particular concept, if I'm trying to particular, or if I'm trying to explain, if I'm trying to, let's say, set any modern principle of philosophy or any kind of principle or doctrine for that matter as a subconscious thing, then to explain, then to narrate the psyche without touching the tangent in terms of the literature through dialogues remains, as quite a plenty background. As I mean, it speaks through the set work, and it speaks through the art, and it speaks through the short taking that we do. But if you talk about the dialogues, I can write some very deep dialogues. I've written some extremely deep dialogues. Um, I've also kept in mind the fact that whatever whatever medium we choose to talk about a particular film or to release it, our approach to being able to say something as as genuine, as transparent. I won't say transparent, but as as much simplified in a manner as possible has always been the top priority. Hence, to be able to pull off for festivals, especially to be able to pull off genuine effort with that behind a particular story. My idea has always been to have the artist do the scenes twice, which is one in Hindi and one in English. So instead of dubbing, uh, obviously bringing out the same quality of Hindi also, and proficiency, of course, in Hindi also as per the English has been very much my goal. And so that's why my scripts are both in Hindi and English. I've started writing in Hindi and English because I think all my scripts have been now in Hindi and English. So this particular one, this is, and since there was a lot of, there was, during COVID and post-COVID, the evolution of AI was so much. I mean, AI was such a necessity that not just in the financial or health sector, but also in also in deeper world of automation, especially if you talk about mining natural resources that we are on the deprivation of, sorry. They all were basically, underwater as well. The use of AI that was anticipated and analyzed during the times of COVID or around that time was very much a pull for me to be completely surprised by. And I was so much hooked to the kind of AI that was being funded in the name of technology and in the name of heavy machinery and all that, and the way people were trying to concise down some of the most massive structures into a small chip, a brain chip, a brain mapping chip, or one pen-like or square-sized structure to pull up tons of some particular weight through just one chip was also very much fascinating to me. So that's why I got inclined to write science fiction, and I wrote at least I think four plots of some good science fiction, and I also read a bit about hypnosis, clinical hypnosis, and I tried blending these two fields of science into a mainstream reality. That could only be possible, of course, if we are doing some bit of if you're doing either complete VFX to people, or if we're talking about astral travel in a live motion form. And henceforth, I wanted to dive into this story structure quickly. This is basically a science fiction. It's an action drama, and this is a pilot film feature at the moment. It's basically around. It's very much around blue economy. Blue economy is, of course, the coastal agriculture, the economical prospects that we have on the seashores, and all the possible layering in terms of mining and processing that is possible there. The entire pull to be able to make blue economy also the part of mainstream with advanced techniques and more variation or diversity in terms of consumption of any of the goods for that matter. As a subconscious layer, but mostly this particular plot remains around deep ocean mining, which is basically mining your polymetallic nodules, the stones that are there on the seafloor, and since they carry 4 to 5 metals in them, uh, 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 try to cut down the cost of deforestation on land. Millionaires, billionaires, and I would say, I'd rather say engineers have been since a very long time, since decades, I guess now, more than decades, I feel. More than decades, they've been trying to, mine the oceans and extract all these metals out of the ocean and the land to cut down on deforestation practices and child labor at mining locations, and all the mafia-driven reality and all the dark practices that are there in consumption of chemicals in a manner that the economy doesn't stop or the regulation of the money doesn't stop, to put all of that down into a certain frame where things don't get too highly exposed as a radioactive substance or toxicity to normally in nature, is something that I wanted to talk about in this particular film. And it's called Echoes. It's basically about this guy called Samar, who's a philanthropist, and he is a blue economy enthusiast. He's at the moment putting up a philanthropic call against deep ocean mining, and his entire idea remains to be around making bioluminescent specimens or bioluminescent elements to be used into the mainstream reality to help the society blend into the evolution of green technology, or get embedded or teethed with green evolution in the future. So what he does is that he's teamed up with this another character called Samir, who's a childhood friend to him, and he's a marine biologist. And they both have been running a huge company, a huge global company, where where they team up with different foreign lands, different foreign. I think they team up. Yeah, they team up with private investors who will help them understand the regulations that they can help the ISA, the International Seabed Authority, to regulate taxes over. And in order to doing so, they pitch in a lot of lab-grown elements of the of the abyssal plane, which is the sea floor. And after doing their own research and R&D of the ocean floor, they come on land, and in their laboratory, they grow some benthic elements and some restoration, seafloor abyssal elements to basically go down, and whenever they mine, put down these experimental elements and these lab-grown realities to see if restoration process can be a possibility. So to leverage this entire idea, they go out to they team up with this particular diplomat in Norway, who explains them a different tangent of metals available on the seafloor of the North Pacific Ocean, and how are they different from what is available in Pacific Ocean and what is available in different regions of the oceans all across the planet. And that kind of becomes a very expensive pull for them to work it out. So they try out everything from discussing because of the IT tycoons, to infrastructure tycoons, to engineers, to AI entrepreneurs, to your contractors, political contractors, and to the politicians who can, explain on papers the taxes, and give an entire team to pull out all of these, their aspirations, projected as as a philanthropy for the society, and advocate blue economy and help them grow towards green revolution, and set up infrastructure of green revolution for the entire planet to understand that why is it important to be ethically mining the oceans, and how to justify every setback, I wouldn't say setback, but every fear that PETA puts in the name of ocean mining. Because if we talk about ocean mining, then a lot of poaching shall stop. If, for example, if I'm an entrepreneur, if I'm an ocean miner and I wish to mine the ocean floor, then I'd love to, map or guard a certain region of the ocean in such a manner that I turn everything, my entirety, as a recyclable beam to that particular ocean, so that whatever I'm picking, I'm giving 1,000 times more back to that. And even if I have to use my own entire house or my lab to, make sure whatever I'm picking, whatever I put back, it's going to be 100%, 100 times more better than what I'm picking up. So such mystical ideas basically actually get manifested as a reality in their experiments. And to again leverage out all of this, these guys, Summer specifically, Summer and Samira basically, they pull up a business event where they meet up, for all these talks possible, for the money and everything, with all the tycoons that are possible and available and are passionate for that stuff. Now in that particular event comes in a guy called Samir. He is a free diver. He has no sense of ocean much. He just understands that that he dives deep into the ocean, and every time, and he calls himself a social worker for the entire planet. He's very, how would I say, someone who does a lot of charity on himself by cleaning the oceans and taking care of the marine life on his own without any help. So Summer, who is a gay guy, he's a very beautiful and very handsome and very masculine guy, but he's gay. So he falls in love with this guy called Samir, and Samir is also very stunningly, athletic man, and he's also very beautiful, very charming, and he's a bisexual, or probably he's closeted, but he, for the first time, gets hit by a guy called Summer, who's a philanthropist, and he's invited to this business event, Summer's business event, and he gets hit on by him, and in a very niche, very playful and very nice manner. Meanwhile, Samira, who's a marine biologist, she's also very beautiful woman, and moreover, if we talk about her outweigh the tangents of intellect, then she is way forward than what Sameer is at the moment. Sameer is more of the economical rap, while Sameera shall be more scientific. Summer being sorry not Sameer, Summer being more of an economic, Summer being more into the economics is a possibility um, because he has a very shrewd and very I would say narcissistic approach to understanding investments or putting out finances out of his pocket, and all of that driven reality, and I have to get something done, and that I mean if I want something, I want it out as soon as possible. That whole narcissistic approach to such a reality where one seed can attract 1,000 bees or 1,000 parasites. He's into that kind of a pool all the time. Henceforth, his subconscious narcissistic reality becomes one tangent to the film, to the story, where we understand what narcissistic traits are, and how appealing and how uplifting they might be at some point, but what they are exactly inside comes out to be the reality of what it is meant to be. So they meet Sameer and Samar meet Sameera and Samar meet Sameer, and they all three of them, they hit on with a very beautiful and very good, very nice conversation where each of them is flirting with each other, because Sameera is a childhood friend to Samar, but she's straight, and it's a happy moment for them. It's a business event, and they're having a good time. So this entire conversation, after introducing the entire business through the entire event through a couple of dialogues here and there about the business, we jump into the psyche of these two particular characters, Sameer and Sameera, where we understand Samar and Sameera, where we understand what are the that where we understand how obsessive romantically as well Samar is, and the way he experiences his obsessive side of romance towards Sameer, that kind of becomes an eye-opening. That kind of becomes an eye-opening moment um, for the audience to understand of what does he really mean. I mean, on one part, he's a very progressive, very fast-forward philanthropist who's very much goal-oriented. But on the other side, he's suddenly taken away by by something which is so spiritual as an appearance that he just goes silent completely. And the way he starts explaining his silence, the manner he starts explaining his silence, is such a beautiful language, but the intensity of that language is a little creepy. So, to ease the tension out, not the tension I would say, but to calm the entire intimate scene, it's a very beautiful psychedelic projection of Sameer, Sameera, and Samar, all three of them in one spot, in a bioluminescent framework, the lighting effect, that it gets so intimate and so sensuous, the entirety, and the conversation is not at all sensuous, it's very romantic, that Sameera decides to ditch the event, ditch the venue with these two men, and all three of them go to at night around midnight or so. They go to the beach. They go to the beach side, and they are just enjoying the breeze, and they're just enjoying the silence, and they are high, of course. So they are having the good time. They're having the good amount of silence with each other, and gradually they fall into a threesome. Now that little threesome is the hook of the story. Uh, that threesome becomes a necessity in a manner that it's actually not a natural threesome. It's just smooching around each other, because it's such an intimate moment for all three of them to be silent to each other's discovery, that to the discovery of each other, that to themselves, that a little peck on the lips or around the lips becomes a huge breakthrough for each of them, because Summer is also falling in love after maybe after let's say for the first time or after a very long time. Sameera, who knows that Summer is gay, and he's been hidden on Sameer since quite a long time, also falls in for Sameer, and Sameer, who is completely confused over the fact that whom to give time to, because both of them have fallen in love with him. He kind of like becomes a little, uh, you know, uh, I mean, a provider to both the sides. And during this moment, Samar, the philanthropist, he realizes that Samir and Samira have a kind of compatibility that is unmatched, and he feels a little taken aback by the entire fact that I wouldn't say unmatched, but yes, it's very beautiful to watch. And he's somewhere down the line, he feels a little insecure of that entire fact that Samir is being taken by Samira, and that kind of like kills him inside. And there is no ounce of empathy for that particular character because the next step is very gross. And what he does is, out of insecurity against the infatuation that he has for Samir, he starts kissing Samira. Now Samira completely understands this guy is super gay and they're childhood friends and they've never had that kind of time where he would want to touch Samira like that, or Samira would expect any kind of emotional relativity like that. So Samar, the philanthropist, he goes on to kiss Samira, and instead of and he starts smooching her, and slowly, gradually, instead of just smooching her, he starts biting her out, and he eats her, and he does an act of cannibalism until she dies. So he basically eats the entire flesh out, and this horrifies Samir to a different level, and he runs away from that spot. When he runs away from that spot, the next scene, and this is very fatal, the next scene we see that we are in an interrogation room. Sorry, we are in a cell in a dark prison where Samar is sorry, this is a later scene. Right after the scene, we fade out and we jump into introducing a police officer who is in his office and is being and is in an argument with his junior officer, who is explaining everything about Samar, who he is, and how Samira's body was found and everything, how everything was basically, like how much time did the cops take to find the body, and could they find the body or not? All these little details are basically being explained about Samar. Samar the philanthropist, the cannibalist, who is downstairs in a dark cell waiting for this police officer to be introduced. This police officer is the senior artist, either Pankaj Chitrapati or Manoj Bajpayee. I've been speaking to a few more people, Sharib Hashim as well, the guy who was the junior officer in Family Man next to Manoj Bajpayee. So these are the people. Sharib sir said yes. Pankaj sir and Manoj sir are yet to be asked. I was told about the budgets and I kind of also got it. They said they're going to cost us around like 5-6 CR or so for the entire project. So I have no idea about. I'll explain what I've been getting in terms of the budgets, like how I've requested lower budgets from such caliber. So anyway, right after this one little introduction of the police officer with the junior officer of what his morality is, and how strict he is, and how stern he is, and what kind of personality he is to be introduced, to be given this kind of a case, this kind of a character called Samar. He is discussing all of these intricate details with his junior officer. Cut to, we jump into the cell downstairs, and there we have this guy Samar, um, who is tied up by the ropes, and there's a guard standing who's throwing warm water on his body. He's tied up all naked, and there's an army doctor who is treating him. So this guy, he basically comes in. This police officer, he is on his way down the cell. We can see a lot of screams coming out from Summer's end, on the end of the room. Sorry, in the end of the hallway, and the doctor is basically performing whatever he's performing over it. And this guy is walking down to the cell. This police officer, the senior officer. When he reaches there, the doctor explains him that he's going through IBS, which is his irritable bowel syndrome, because he's eaten flesh. So nothing is coming out of his body. He's completely constipated. Nothing is coming out of him, and there is a very different condition within him, which is called gut-brain motility dysfunctionality, which is um, basically the gut is completely the connection of the gut and the brain has been the connection has been, it's dysfunctional, of course, And until and unless he confesses to everything that you ask genuinely, he will not be able to excrete his, he will not be able to pass to, and nothing will come out of him. Until the time nothing comes out of him, he will keep bloating in his body, entire body, and he will die, and he's at the moment super unconscious. So what? This is what the doctor basically explains about his condition, and says that he is completely lost. So you better be doing your interrogation with him properly, and I need his body completely clean. I need his system empty to do any further treatment on him for the entire court trial further. So right after the doctor leaving, the police officer, he starts his interrogation with him, and he starts questioning of who are you, why did you do this to Samira, and what is Samir to you, and what do you feel about this entire thing. And throughout this ordeal, um, he talks very healthy about Samira. He says that she was a childhood friend and all of that, but I was so much taken aback by how she was falling in love with that guy, that I just could not forget the fact that I'll have to eat my childhood friend just to keep her away from my possession, which was Samir. So this kind of puts the officer in a tangent that he cannot process over what is he trying to say in the name of morality, when he showcases himself as a philanthropist who is working selflessly for the society, but within himself he's the most selfish thing you can ever come across. So this kind of becomes, you know, a pull for him to believe the fact that he's actually sleeping with his own eye, with his open eyes, and he's very much he's very much like he's mentally disturbed to understand of what he's saying. And henceforth what he does is that he goes on to depict an alter reality to Summer, who is having a moment of smirk in every answer that he says, because in spite of talking the reality about Samira, of why did he do so, or what she is as a connection, and does he feel anything about what he's done or not, he talks of Samir, he talks he talks really highly of Samir, saying that I am so much Sufi like because of Samir at the moment that I can't even address the kind of act I've done. And beyond my understanding or acknowledgement of not being, not being guilty of what I've done to Samira, there is a different tangent that has opened within me, which is so gruesome to my actual reality that it completely sets me aside from believing in anything else but the only piece of memory of Samir left in my heart, or my muscle memory, that he could have been taken away from me in a second, but I saved myself from losing my possession. And of course, this does not sound very practical to the officer, so he goes on to pretend an altered reality, and he says that if at all I was to if at all I was to avenge Samira by explaining you what I am, I would pull up my astral guards on you, and I will make your life superiorly horrific, against the fact that even I have the entirety in the name of rights to mutilate you and destroy you, just to prove you that you were not cooperative during the interrogation. One. But since I know what you are, and since I know what narcissism is to me without an explanation, I will release my guards on you. So when he says that I'll release my guards on you, what he means is that he says that if you can pretend to be a Ram to me, I can pretend to be a real Ravan to you, and vice versa. And he says that at the moment you are a Ravan to me and I am the Ram to you. I can kill you, but I will not kill you, I'll just torture you. Your death is not in my hands, it's in the hands of the God. Okay, I'll torture you for not being yourself. You tell me at the time of death, do you want to be yourself or not? So this is what he puts out as a stance. And that whole Ram and Ravan, I haven't really played that gimmick in the script, but the way I've explained, the dialogues are such that we are not pulling in any faith, or we're not keeping in, and there are no names in the dialogues. but the way he's spoken in a demonic manner, that states that he is on a higher path, obviously, and there shall be no thin lines of thin lines basically to understand of what exactly is morality or immorality, or are we trying to just play around with the audience and stuff. It's a very much clear cut hit on the face that this is right, this is wrong, very righteous, very virtuous. So he goes on to explain that, and throughout his interrogation, throughout all the interrogation, every time he speaks the truth about Samira, or every time he says the truth, um, that the entire flesh that he's eaten, that blurts out of his body, and it blurts out in such a manner that instead of flesh, I mean not just instead of, but along with the flesh comes in a lot of mucus and a lot of blood also comes out of it, out of his rectum, and that kind of becomes very horrific to watch. And the way the officer reacts to all of everything that's happening in front of me is it's not funny. It can't be funny, but the kind of patience he keeps and the way he keeps that patience with a very stern face, and something like, you can't distract me with all of this, even though this is naturally happening because it's meant to happen. Um, that can make any weak heart get as strong as possible with whatever is happening in front of your eyes. You have to watch it if it's happening in front of your eyes, and it's not harming. If at all, it's not harming. So that whole interrogation is a very gross sequence, not too gory and not too R-rated also for the screen, but the projection of it is horror driven. So, and the way after every um, after every defecation, after every episode of defecation, the way Summer goes on to be like, thank God something got out of my body, and the way he breathes, and then the moment he starts breathing, the way he starts explaining uh, Samir's memory in his mind to kill the pain of everything that he's dealing with by just talking something romantic about him is way more frustrating. So because he is a handsome man himself, and the way he expresses his life or his passion for anything is way more handsome. But the kind of act that he's pulled, that entire romanticism with someone's attachment to something, or that particular humanly cling, or the notion of cling, that basically takes the entire taste of celebrating almost everything in the name of taste. So that sets out Samir, sorry, the officer, and this guy Samar apart, and that's where we draw the very clear line between what's going on and what is going on. So when this entire interrogation gets over, the officer, he says that I'm going to release my guards on you, and he says, and when he talks about guards, he becomes a little psychotic in appearance to his face. He goes this close to his face, and in spite of every dirt, every dirty, like all the dirt around him, it was this close because he's acting super smart and over smart. He goes on to say, and I'm gonna just like Venom, that character Venom, he goes that sick in appearance and says, he doesn't change through VFX, but his expression goes very monstrous, and he says, I'm gonna release my cards on you. And by saying all of this, he leaves he's on his way back to the corridor. I mean, he's on his way back outside the corridor, and he's walking down the hallway, and we see a priest coming in. A priest is basically holding a small matka, and in the clay pot he's got some havan samagri, and there's a smoke coming out of it and stuff. And this so when this guy comes out, so basically the officer is coming out, and the priest is going to cleanse the entire cell and this guy for the time. So right after this we show that whole fire and everything, that havan is going on, and over that havan we see him. We see the priest chanting some Tibetan verses that talk about morality and morality, and it's basically like a helix verse that's going on. So right after this priestly sequence, we jump into a conversation with. I mean, this is where we saw. I'm so sorry. This is where we jump. This is where we show how this guy, officer, is treating this man, Samar. Right after this scene gets very spiritual. I wouldn't say spiritual, but like gets very lucid as a projection, and we jump into the mind of Samar. And in Samar's mind, we see him standing right at the beachside where he had seen Samir the last time with Samira, and there he is. There on his face, there is a lot of bioluminescent light coming out of the ocean, and he closes his eyes, and we jump more further into his dream, into his vision, and we see him, and we see. Um, yeah, and we start seeing the underwater reality, the underwater world, the marine life basically inside the ocean, just to get a little calm projection in his mind. So basically, that whole Havan, I won't say the Havan, but like that whole spiritual cleansing that's happening, all of that takes him back to the serenity, the mental peace, which he finds under the ocean through the marine life and everything that he's planning to do. And we explore the marine life a little. We see very calm and beautiful scenes, and then we jump back. Not jump back, then we fade back to the end of the puja that's happening, the cleansing, sorry, that's happening in the cell. And we see two guards dragging somewhere back outside the corridor, and on his way back to the corridor, on his way back to his cell, we hear the we hear a telephonic conversation between the officer and the doctor. And the doctor says that this guy is not going to be an easy job for us. And so, to pull him down to being very much transparent during the court trial, what we'll do is we'll do an act of clinical hypnosis on him. In that clinical hypnosis, we'll manipulate him as per us, so that there are painful tremors that we can put in during the trial if at all he lies to us. And we will keep this very discreet from the entire legislature of why are we doing all of this, just to have him be honest, because he's such a dangerous man that we cannot risk any kind of any kind of an episode where he escapes our reality, because he's rich also, and he's globally connected, and just for the sake of business and everything, anyone can file for his bail or pay a huge FT amount and get him out. So to avoid all of that and make our lives easy, and to prove him that he's actually a culprit, let's just let's do some clinical hypnosis on him and inflict a lot of pain to be real about it, real about the entire life, and whatever intelligence that we can learn out of the court trial, it will be beneficial for us only. So that of course, if there is any kind of cannibalist network outgoing, or if he's some part of a big any kind of racket, it can be exposed, and we don't have to stress our lives over it. So while all of this, so this conversation is basically happening while Summer is being dragged outside, all completely unconscious, to the guards. And when this conversation is over, we hear one line of Summer, in Summer's voice, talking to the officer, thinking aloud about to the officer's face, that you don't know the kind of world that I come from. And right after saying this, we jump into the underwater world of Summer, that he has established, or that he has the plans or desires to establish, where we see a deep ocean mining vehicle that's roaming around on the seafloor and picking up nodules, polymetallic nodules, and by mistake they touch a hydrothermal vent somewhere, and that and the robotic arms, they basically kind of break the hydrothermal vent, and that vent, when blows off, lava starts coming out of that particular spot. So that entire argument of that we've done one little mistake, now how to restore it, and then checking on a small little refinery or a lab somewhere developed or established under the water, or probably on the water, gets gives an idea to the audience of what kind of aspirations this guy had. And throughout this trip under the water into the vehicle, we see the police officer being Summer, and doing that whole recce of that place, and directing that entire vehicle as per his plan. So just to make him, just to give officer the idea of the kind of person he was, we put the officer in Summer's position in the underwater and explore the mining process through his eyes. Right after this fantasy, we jump into an interrogation room where Summer's lawyer, Nitya, is sitting with this officer and trying to file a bail plea. And of course, the act is so gruesome, so he goes on to explain his own reality over the fact that it's just not viable, and I can, for filing a bail plea, I can probably pull up uh, some kind of uh, some kind of a stance from my end to have you be given, I don't know if lawyers can lose their license to practice law, but I can help you lose your license if you want to apply for a bail plea for this guy. And she goes on to say that he's awaited on crore worth investments out, and people are waiting for him to come online and work things out and stuff. So it's very important for him to be out and stuff. To which he goes on to say that we don't care about his public image. What he's done, if we read about it, we destroy it today. So, and this is how he excuses that woman away. Then he goes on to do a little. He conducts a little raid at Summer's house, and there in his house, it's a posh condo, and in that posh condo we confiscate a huge trunk, or a trunk like a suitcase, a trunk basically, holding some lab grown specimens of marine life and restoration elements of the sorry, your pardon me, the marine elements, and something like, and yeah, and I had a list of entire, so basically things that are to be found on the seafloor to give a structure, or to give a certain environment to the polymetallic nodules, or the stones that carry elements in it, metals in it. I'm sorry. Basically things around those. So in terms of if we talk about the marine species, then hybrid marine life, then hybrid grass, hybrid further your biodiversity elements are basically confiscated as samples, basically in small little glass cases. Now all of this is happening. I'm so sorry, I kind of lost the scene somewhere. That's why I'm a little pulled back over where we're going with the screenplay. But yes, during this, there was this one scene that I skipped out, which was during the investigation, during the one-on-one with Nitya and officer, where Nitya is trying to talk a lot about filing the bail plea and why is it important and everything, and she's trying to give down a breakdown. She's trying to give a breakdown of the economics and stuff, and the officer, who's super frustrated of her, suddenly goes on to know of what kind of numbers are they pitching in, or what kind of financial investment are they looking at. And we jump into a beautiful location where they're having a business lunch with this Norwegian diplomat, who's explaining the kind of Pacific seafloor is, and he's talking about the possible advanced metals that are there on the seafloor, and how much money can they earn out of it, and what is the possibility and what are the prospects of using all those metals if we process them for recyclable batteries or anything else for that matter, can be brought into the mainstream, and mainstream economic structures, and new government, I won't say the new government, but new structure of blue economy can be introduced through that. So this entire thing is being discussed, and he says that in terms of coordinating some high profile diplomats who can fix you right amount of artists and right amount of technicians to this, I'm open to bring in 500 CR. I'm open to bring in an investment of 500 CR to over the course of over the course of 1 year, to help you build up a network that can further help you with the technicalities required for every for the refineries that you're planning um, around on the sea, or sorry, the kind of refinery that you need on the Pacific, the Northern Pacific Ocean, and what is going to be there in terms of that particular terrain, and the kind of machine and the kind of vehicles you have to build on that particular floor, and what all tax regulations will you have to surpass, and the evidence you'll have to prove in terms of what you've experimented and everything. For that, my initial investment will be 500 CR, but beyond all of that, it's going to be 100,000 CR of an investment that if I associate with this particular project, I'll be pitching in myself across as such as so. So this is the kind of this is how we jump into this whole breakthrough about the kind of aspirations that they had. And in this particular conversation, we have Sangeera also as the marine biologist explaining, what her intellectual rights are going to be, and what all pitches are they going to have in terms of lab-grown realities, if at all they're going to go about it on the basis of intellectual rights or intellectual properties. So right after this reality, right after this scene, we jump into another sequence where we're talking about right after this particular sequence, the lawyer, then this particular sequence, and then yes, we jump into a raid at Summer's house, where yes, this entire inventory of lab-grown items of Sangeera are confiscated, and she is discussing, and she is heard discussing with the Norwegian diplomat whom they were having a lunch about, checking with her on Summer's availability, and how she dodges and the timeline that he has on you to have Summer be connected to some political diplomats all across the world. He's got a few people from China, Japan, North Korea, and Russia, Ukraine, and a couple other countries ready to dive into this entire project and the entire idea. How they basically become a certain I'm sorry, not them as a tangent, but how he says that them becoming Summer becoming a tangent to this within 2 days is very much important, and Nitya is helplessly dodging the entire thing, and she is clueless, she's completely innocent over what to do, how to do this, and she says that I'll try my best to have him on board within 2 days, otherwise he's extremely sick at the moment, and he's had a bad episode at home, so henceforth he's not available on the call and stuff. That's why I was doing it. So just to give an idea of the kind of lifestyle Summer had at his home, super luxurious and everything, but mindfully essential. Um, just to bring out the traits of narcissistic reality or narcissistic personalities, I'm putting him in this kind of a niche, clean-looking film, just like American Psycho, a little more clean than American Psycho. So, but yes, him thinking aloud about that man, and him thinking about taking a cover from what he's done, and how he not even dodge his reality about the earth, how passionate he is about the globe and people around, and then how suddenly he switches into an extremely selfish man by conducting the violence he had. That switch is pure black and white to watch. So right after this particular sequence where we expose that this lady Nitya, Summer's lawyer, she's on a timeline, we jump into the scene of clinical hypnosis, where Summer is subconscious, and there's a little narco happening on him, where this guy, the officer, and sorry, the house is basically raided by the junior officer who was not arguing, sorry, who was giving down all the details in the first scene to a senior officer about this entire incident and this murder that happened. So right after this scene, we jump into a sequence of clinical hypnosis, where this guy is being done astral surgery on him, and he's been given a pain called neuralgic pain, which is an ice pick going up your nerves and giving you a painful shock in such a manner, just to inflict pudendal shame, that he goes on to that anybody can have a nervous breakdown or a complete blackout. And there are three types of pains, and this pain is the most excruciating to any kind of human, to any kind of body for that matter. And on the scale of 10, which is a normal scale of which is the basic scale, I don't know if it's basic style, basic or not, but the last that I checked, it's basically 11 on 10. So that pain is capable enough to destroy anyone's sanity. So he goes on to the officer. He basically, not the officer, I'm sorry, the doctor. He goes on to explain that um, I had given you the stance about doing this already. That we need a clean, fair trial. Henceforth, we're going to manipulate him because he's very political and manipulative, and he's completely insane to destroy us in the court. So let's keep him as our bait. And right after and to check the difference between him not touching and then after, and his mindset after touching him, what they do to confirm this is that they jump into two, they create, since he's subconscious and he's that's a narcotic, that's an episode of narcotics basically that's being conducted at the moment, but with a few more instruments in hands, and a little more painful than the basic structure. Go ahead. The doctor narrates him a scene where, within his mind, in his lucid dreaming, of course, we jump into his mind and we jump into a talk about, it's another business book, where the people who were there in his business event during the first scene, ready to invest into his plan, they all are discussing, they all are narcissistic shapeshifters. And Samira was the only bright one over there, sitting innocently silent, just observing everything that she can put her life at risk for, in the name of money, politics, power dynamics, and everything. And these brokers, they are basically talking about how risky the entire investment can be if the anticipated revenue does not come back, and what all low-key pulls in the name of what you say, in the name of safeguarding our money through mafia, and what kind of illicit practices we might have to introduce into the market, like child trafficking, deforestation to a different level, wildfires, and all of these things. These might have to be pulled in to legitimize our bills somewhere, so that we can also extract bills out of the main economy and start a small little potluck kind of a gamble here, where whoever puts in the most gets the most out. So, and to cover ourselves and to cover our business, we've got Samira with lab grown intellectual, complexities of life that only she can understand. And what kind of life? Marine life. So what more of a philanthropic pull or plug do we have in the name of futuristic investment into AI and stuff? So this is how cunning that entire talk goes on to be. And it's so diabolic in nature, the dialogues, in that everyone's drama to look real in a dark spot. This entire scene happens in a skyscraper back in Bombay, and we see some multimillionaires sitting around on a round table with a big screen in a conference room, and some beautiful sea floor reality in front of them, a footage of underwater reality of a particular ocean where they want to mine, where they want to invest first, and the blue economy can be established around. And what kind of experiments, what kind of replicas has Samira been growing in a lab? The original versions of them are being basically being shown in that particular film. And over this film, they basically go on to talk about the kind of investments that are going to be, and the kind of risk are going to be, and what are going to be ours, and what are going to be the possible safeguards for our money and investments, and yeah, this entire pool. So just to get an idea, now this hypnosis, this particular scene basically is an actual scene, is an actual oration of Summer's lifestyle. Sorry, Summer's reality about his business partners. And how we learn about how we learn about this particular mindset or this particular scene from the perspective of the doctor and the officer is that when they hypnotize Summer, in this particular conversation, there's a dog sitting in the conference room. What the doctor does is that he goes on to say to Summer, who is subconscious in his sleep, that you are going to be the dog in that particular conference room, listening to what your business partner asks, what your business partners are. And throughout the conversation in the conference room with Samira talking and everything, everyone is around, but it's just Samir that's missing. And by the end of the entire conversation, we learn, of course, every time the dog reacts, is basically Summer, who's, at the moment is in the dog's body and is listening to the entire business. Sorry, not the business, yeah, the entire business talk, and is reacting as per that. Right after and through that, and just to have him, just to basically have Summer explain of the kind of network he has. The doctor gives him a setting, because he's doing a hypnosis. He gives him a setting and he says that this is, and you are this particular subject in that entire doc. So tell us what your mind is about your stuff, or whatever, or what have you learned out of that entire doc. So right after the scene gets over, we jump back into the operation theatre, and the doctor there goes on to ask of what do you feel of Samira here. And this entire conversation, this entire interrogation is very much from the doctor's perspective, sorry, from for the audience's perspective, for the audience's understanding. um, uh, it's very much morality driven again, because Summer's condition at the moment, especially to be triggered as per the desire to completely control his mind, and in every situation, is to have him not delude towards Samir, because Samir is the only chapter that broke Summer from his actual reality into a different setting which he was never aware of, that he could be on this levels of insanity to possess something that he wanted. And so, to keep him morally alive, they put him into such a context where he cannot have a say, moral or immoral, but can only make a comment about it. And the way he'll be asked to put that comment out is going to be very much morality or ethic driven than how much are you invested economically. Because I am not interested in what you are as a personality after what you've done. I'm more interested in on knowing of what do you call for yourself as someone who can have a say against what you've done, or do you recognize the kind of act that you've done. Because if at all I didn't want to kill you, I could see the scope of your mental illness going down after or probably over the course of few years, and give you a kind of life imprisonment where I might be putting my life at risk by putting my belief in you, of course. But am I making the right choice by not giving you a death penalty within 2 days, or within 2 weeks or a month, than keep you for years inside the jail and torture you with memories of the one that's gone, and have you experience the life lost. So all of these things, become quite a projection for me to explain my stance of being very morality driven throughout the dialogues, throughout as a talk, from the doctor's perspective, so that I can create I can create those lucid dreaming, those lucid scenes for him to be traveling and being alive to my commands, and be and let me also control and manipulate. Meanwhile, officer's interrogation, because the officer will also keep questioning every time we jump out of the hypnosis. The officer will be questioning him. So officer's questioning is going to be completely uh, money driven. Who can possibly invest their life in getting you out of the jail if this is out, if your story is out, if your act of violence is out, and who can till what extent invest how much money, or in how much money to help you survive a sustainable life inside the prison within my absence. So to safeguard himself from all these loopholes throughout the trial and post the trial as well, the officer remains to be this calculated, of course, while the doctor, he wishes to go on to be the he wishes to go on to pull up a clinical aspect of life with him. And right after this scene, when we jump back to the consciousness from this lucid dreaming of the dog, the officer goes on to ask him of what do you feel of Samira. Give me a character out of that entire conversation that you had. Give me explain us quickly of who is who and what are they expecting out of it. And he goes on to very bluntly say in a in a subconscious tone, completely eyes shut and yeah, almost partially conscious, goes on to say that everybody that was there in the room was worthless. It was just only Samira that had the right on life. Rest, all of them were just mere puppets of money, power dynamics, and henceforth investing my entirety in them was not at all something to me. It was all Samira for me in that entire conversation, and till legacies will just be Samira. So now he is helplessly talking about his reality, but it sounds so vague after what he's done that um, the officer uh, goes on to explain the doctor that he's not gonna give us any numbers or so about the amount of, so there's basically 500 cr about to come into his account, so he has to be justifiable online with those diplomats that Nitya was trying to dodge a meeting with, of like where how much amount is basically going where and all of that. So this hypnosis basically goes on to be in reference to that, and the officer goes on to tell the doctor that he will not give us clues easily, because it's not just about Samira that they ask. He basically, of course, I told you that he wants to know who are the first leads that can get him out of this entire thing just for the sake of money being invested in. So he learns that, I mean, he tells the doctor, and so, and the doctor says that we've got only one another technique, which is let's inflict pudendal shame with him, and we're gonna touch his pudendal and vagus nerve a bit, and we're gonna put tremors into it, and let's design one more scene to him. Let's give one more hypnosis after twitching around with his nerves, and let's try putting in tremors. So how we'll do it is that, so he basically does the doctor does a couple of liquid dripping, some liquid dropping, and some instrument use of instruments on his pudendal and vagus nerve. And right after twitching around with his nerves, he narrates another scene to him. And he tells that someone, now you are in a black room, and it's just Samira and Sameer in front of you, and you are in a banter over. Uh, Excuse me, I have this one little principle, philosophical principle as per the modern perspective of intimacy, infatuation, sensuality, rather craving for sensuality, I would say. Yes, we were discussing the philosophical principle of craving for sensuality. So he said that we're talking about this notion called craving of sensuality, and it's Sameer and Samira in front of you. This is the argument. Put out a dialogue and explain that your act of eating Samira is very much justifiable, and if at all you appear convincing, we'll get you Sameer back in your life. We'll let you be. So this, of course, triggers him out of excitement, and he's partially subconscious only. He goes on to lucid dreaming, and we start the hypnosis. And here now the entirety of Summer's mindset is basically the doctor and officer's perspective combined over what is craving for sensuality, and the argument is going on. And while the argument is going on, there is a constant whispering inside Summer's head from these two, doctor and officer, happening. It's their voice talking about what is Samir and Samira are going to talk, and they are basically giving him an idea of something that is to be coming out of their mouth as a dialogue already. And since it's so much fast paced, because it's schizophrenic, like whispering, it's constant whispering happening inside his mind, that it appears that they've the way they've touched the nerve, it started giving him schizophrenic symptoms. So in schizophrenia, we have a lot of whispers going on in us, right? And we can't really focus on anything. So now Summer's challenge is to focus on Samira, their arguments, their points, and defocus himself from the whispers that are going on in his mind, and react as per. And these whispers are authoritative and commanding. So they are already telling about what is to be out of their mouths, because they wish Summer to answer as per these whispers and not what they are trying to say on his face. So every time they make a dialogue, and every time they put out an argument, this whole banter, this is a very quick banter, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, something like this. So when this, and throughout all of this, there's a lot of whispering also happening. So we can hear multiple voices around, and we also are hearing these three people in a different tone altogether. So it's a very chaotic, what you say, audio wise, it's a chaotic sequence, of course. So what really happens is that, let's say Samir, so yeah, Samir goes on to throw one point. So Samir goes on to say goes on to express a notion, and Samira counters. To counter Samira, now he has to say something, but instead of saying his heart, or instead of thinking of his heart, the whispers are such that he wishes to talk a certain reality, but he talks something else. So the moment he talks something else than what he's supposed to be saying, which is completely his own impulse, his instinct, which he has learnt by dodging the whispers, by cutting the connection of consciousness to these whispers suddenly, and being in the moment to those two faces that are possible that are visible to his reality at the moment, that particular black room. He goes on to feel something else inside, and these whispers basically deriving a sentence out of it, but and expecting him to say, but him speaking something else. So the moment he's speaking, the moment he speaks something else apart from what he's supposed to be, what he's hearing and what he's supposed to be saying, um, a quick cut to the interrogation, sorry, the operation theater, and we see the doctor pressing or doing something to the pudendal nerve. The moment that pudendal nerve happens, the moment that pudendal nerve gets touched, we jump back into the black room, and it's a UV lit room. So we do not see the flesh around. We just see the nervous system of these three people, and an astral projection of these three entirety of bodies around. The moment he touches the pudendal nerve, there's a translucent syringe that goes up Summer's rectum and touches his G spot inside the rectum, and gives him a kind it gives him a kind of pain, and gives him a kind of shock, that his entire nervous system up till the crown gets illuminated with extreme light, and this guy goes completely black, he goes completely black in his head, and instead of being able to react something further, he just goes up, he goes completely silent. He's like he's like this, like all zonked, and he doesn't know what to do. What it's like, he's something possessed or something like that, because the pain is such, because it's a shock inside the body. So right after the shock, uh, when there's a pin drop silence, Samir and Samira, they both go on to throw uh, dialogues on him, provoking him to talk, but he goes on to be experiencing only the pain than be able to say something. And this kind of, uh, you know, uh, this kind of gives this projection of Summer a reality check back in the operation theater of what he is being an oversmart over, because until his pudendal nerve was touched, he was very much conscious over the fact that his system is clean, and he is just guilt filled at the moment, nothing else. So he is going to be as narcissistic and as over stylish as possible to dodge answering the reality. But the moment he's in hypnosis, he's felt that clinical pain going up his rectum to the G spot, piercing his G spot, like appearing like piercing his G spot, to be giving so much stress in the brain. We jump back to the we jump back, I'm so sorry, we jump back to the operation theater, and we experience a few frames of pin drop silence before the doctor questions Samar if could you feel the pain that we inflicted on you, and Samar says yes I did, and thereon the officer goes on to explain that this is a warning to you, that if you do not be yourself throughout the court trial with us over the questions that we ask you against the business deals that you've invested your soul in and taken such a stance in the name of Samira against, and how you've jeopardized almost everyone's reality. We will be giving you such countless tremors throughout the court trial, and you will not be able to ever get out of that trial in any manner. So it will be great if you cooperate with us so that we don't have to do this to you, and it will be great if you very clearly, very passively tell us how quick can you give us an assurance that you can spend another 100 years in the jail and still accept death penalty with as much silence needed to this entire act of devouring a human flesh as possible, and not even make our lives stressful. And this is where we end the film. Now this entire story structure and this entire notion is to basically explain what pudendal shame and how rapists and murderers and different acts of violence should be treated in some manner that um, that clinical science, or probably the future of science, or probably the future of medical science, does not remain trajectorized only up till the papers that can be read by general public, but the insights in terms of metaphysical reality to expose astral scammers can also be talked about through mainstream reality, where um, such diabolic concepts of life, where such experiments are done on people in and out since have been people have been doing so many since eternity, can always remain a benefit of doubt for anybody who wishes to think of any kind of crime against any kind of social stigma, or any kind of, not against social stigma, but as in favor of any kind of stigma, so that propagandas like HIV, homophobia, and many other such war-driven realities, and all of these setbacks in the name of progressive reality do not actually prevail, and there can be some sense of ease in progressive mindset somewhere, so that such backward realities do not come up front, and people also learn how to read personalities, how to build better defense mechanism, and how to make their mind as strong as possible in the name of law, in the name of self-healing, in the name of moral policy, in the name of self-contemplation. So yes, I mean, when this is the entire plot, I am sending you on LinkedIn the story structure, um, to be able to talk to any production house at the moment. The entire timeline of this, the timeline of the project, if I was to break it down, I look at almost like a month-long prep on this, and and almost month long or lesser than a month of the production schedule, and month or 2 months long post production, considering that entire underwater world that we have to create on VFX. Just that. Rest, all of these scenes are just a play of light. This clinical hypnosis, the interrogation sequence, and that what you say, that yeah, and yeah, just these two scenes are a little detail oriented in terms of actually the entire screenplay is very much detail oriented because the dialogues are very extensive, and the kind of banters and the kind of pace required in each sequence, be it a lucid reality, be it a notion of love, or be it extreme power dynamics. People who can be something like Benedict Cumberbatch when he delivers a particular dialogue, like what he did in, like how he decoded a lot of scenes in his Sherlock season. We need someone like that who can speak that much of that fast-paced English and that fast-paced Hindi. I don't know if pulling up artists like Manoj sir or Pankaj sir would be viable to this particular character, because they have a certain character sketch already that they are framed in. In these characters, they will obviously look very very polished, but too concise. But in terms of dialogues, how much will they wish to not have a certain personality style be be framing the entire scene or framing that particular character, than breaking out from their profile already to something new, which sounds very experimental, but if at all it is picked out, um, uh, carried out well or delivered well, it can look like what Ronit Roy in a in a business meeting, or as a boss, or as an entrepreneur, as some multimillionaire would look like while delivering and commanding these dialogues and asking what a, and looking like a proper judge. That whole court trial also that I have to write. I mean, I was thinking, why should I write or not? I think I'll write one little small scene to give a fair judgment to the as an end to the story. So these are the kind of casting uh, uh, juggling I've been struggling with. But beyond all of this, if at all I wanted to seek out senior festivals with this story, then um, I wanted to go in with theater artists who are beautiful at delivering dialogues, and they look amazing as well. Their personalities are very much aesthetic to the eyes and very cinematic in appearance. And since the entire projection of the film is very rich, niche, because the talks are such, and the intensity of being gory and dark also is so ugly to pull off, that we will have no other option but to stick with artists who can completely devote, or who can completely wear these characters. And henceforth the art direction of the film is also going to be very beautiful, very surreal, I would say. I'm gonna share this. I'm uploading this narration on YouTube. I'm sharing the link with you. I am also in the LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, I am sharing the story structure and the small lookbook where what each set is looking like. I've tried to be very minimal in terms of budget we might have to put on the art on these sets. I'm sorry if that gives you a little stress about the kind of money I might ask. But since I was expecting festivals with this, because I don't know how much will this concept be accepted for mainstream cinema till the time Netflix original does not listen to it and likes the idea, and says that okay, we'll try our what you say, censor, I mean, our guidelines with censorship. But ma'am, I don't want to miss out on any of the gory scenes that I've written, especially that flesh eating part. It's nothing exciting about it. The only exciting part is that the kind of horror it can create. We can go very much reflection driven during that sequence. We can just show in Summer approaching to kiss her, but cut to the shadow on the sand, and we see something extremely horrific happening. And we never jump onto the face. We can always dodge such scenes through such lighting techniques. But again, uh, But yeah, I mean, this is the only way how we can, I think, approach the festivals also, not just the channel. So yeah, I'll share in the the deck with you, and I'll share this narration, and I look forward to a word, man. And I hope things have been all great with you. I saw your new venture with the entrepreneurs. It's a very beautiful goal. Best of luck to you for that. Rest, yes, I'm really sorry. I've been all gone over these years. Things were a little tough back at home and with my health. So I had no other option but to save myself from everything that was going. And luckily, I was writing myself, so that's how I could keep myself away from all the trauma and be able to explain you what I've been writing about. So, ma'am, this is a feature length. If at all we can do a short film, I have some beautiful concepts in the short film as well. You let me know what would you like to listen to, and would you like to give me some break or not, because I've anyway been dying for a break since eternity now. I did one short film before COVID, but beyond all of that, things have been mysteriously stagnant in my life. So I have no other way to fix myself a sanity out of cinema. I think that's how I like to conclude myself. And it will be great if you can drop me a word whether you'd be interested in doing the story or not. Thank you so much. Take care.